ask yourself the damn question. Is winning the only thing to you?
Sports today are not just played on the field. They're played every day, online, all over the world, by sports fans just like you.
Don't you dare breathe. That won't get you anywhere. If you don't think you're a winner, you don't belong here.
Fantasy Sports puts you in control of your own team. The Nick Bonsanto Show is proud to present the Star Fantasy League Show. Find out who to sit, who to start, how to play, and have your daily fantasy sports questions answered with your host, Jonathan Sprung, co-hosted by SFL CEO Zach Stanley and SFL COO Seth Young. The Star Fantasy League Show, on the air.
Make this game your finest hour.
Now.
Hello and welcome to the Star Fantasy League Show here on the Sports Byline USA Network. I am your host, Jonathan Sprung, joined almost as always by Mr. Seth Young. What's up, Seth?
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here, and there's no Deuce Moose to my right today. We have some fresh meat.
Some fresh meat, wow. I'm a little confused. Normally I say, as always, by CEO and founder of Star Fantasy Leagues, but Zach Stanley decided to go to a Jay-Z concert instead of come to this beautiful recording of a show.
Apparently Jay-Z's last show, which is always his last show, is more important.
Yeah, I don't think so. But joining us in studio is the newest member of the Star Fantasy Leagues family, Nick Stablenko. What's up, Nick?
How's it going?
It's going great in office. You got some big shoes to fill. Zach really brings it every show.
I don't know. I wear size 13, so I think I'll be fine.
Hey, size 13 club up top.
Here we go.
They just high-fived in a radio studio. I'm sure you heard the clap from that. That's embarrassing. I feel really uncomfortable to be in this
Well, you feel
office.
uncomfortable because you got a smaller shoe size. You know what they say about that.
Wow. Our one listener is going to be really, really offended right now. We're going to get letter.
Yeah, I hope we get a letter.
We're going to get letter. All right, coming up on the show today, this is the first time we're doing this. We are starting off the show talking daily fantasy hockey on Star Fantasy League.
Hockey!
Guys. You both, Nick, I think you like some hockey, right?
That's the greatest sport on earth, man.
Oh, wow. Seth, you were going to be in heaven today.
Except Nick is a Devils fan, which means that naturally we're going to butt heads.
Oh, goody. I like butting heads. That's cool because we're talking hockey in the first segment. We got some basketball today, some lineup review for fantasy. We're also doing that football accountability, which everyone loves. So we got a packed show. We're going to start off after the break talking some hockey. I'm excited. You're listening to the Star Fantasy League Show on the Sports Byline USA Network.
Nick Bonsanto is proud to present the Star Fantasy League Show. Feel free to tweet the show at SFL Show. Let's do this. Time for your Star Fantasy League NHL Fantasy Lineup Breakdown.
Yeah.
We are back on the Star Fantasy League Show, and for the first time, we are talking NHL Fantasy Lineup Breakdown.
Let's talk some puck tonight.
Don't turn off your radio. There's some hockey talk on the show today.
Keep your radios on.
Yeah, that is true. All right, guys. We usually talk basketball breakdown, so we're talking specifically about all these positions and things. But Seth, tell me how NHL differs from basketball in scoring and positions, all that good stuff.
Well, for one, you're going to get a lot. The actual number, your final score is going to be a lot less. The scoring is different for NHL. Clearly, I mean, you're going to get points for shots on goal. A goalie's going to get points for saves. You get points for block shots, for assists, for plus minus. There are a lot of different things that you get scoring for. For penalty minutes, you even get points. Power play goals.
You get points for penalty minutes.
Penalty
so you
minutes.
want fighters?
Absolutely. Sometimes having a fighter is not a bad thing. Power play goals, assists, shorthanded goals, shorthanded assists. Goalie gets points for every save he makes, a shutout, a win. And it's really interesting. The pricing on StarFantasyLeagues.com for hockey, it makes it really fun to make a lineup because it's challenging. You really have to do your research and show your skill.
I've noticed as someone who's casually watching the game, you see a quarter of your salary is dedicated to goalies. Like, how does that make your lineup shake out when you have basically all your salaries going to a goalie? Do you have to go for the best goalie of the day every time, or how do you do it?
The goalie is the most important position in the game, period. They're the only ones that are on the ice all the time. So much like in basketball where you have players that are on the floor consistently every single night, the goalie's out there. I mean, that's why it's weighted so heavily that way. So, yeah, choosing a fantasy goalie is definitely going to be the most important part of the lineup.
And on that note, I mean, the goalies are usually going to get you the most points because the goalie's going to have all these saves. You get, a certain amount of points for each save. If the goalie wins or goalie gets a shutout, that's probably more than 4 or 5 players put together on your team are going to get in the way of points.
All right, so you guys basically just told me I need the best goalie of the night. I made a lineup on StarFantasyLeagues.com as well. Like I said, I am not a hockey guy. I picked Tuukka Rask because I'm a Boston guy. I don't know if that's good or not. I have no idea. Why don't you guys tell me who you guys each had, since you both made lineups? Who do you guys each have and why for your hockey goalie?
All right, well, Seth already said it, but I am a New Jersey Devils fan. I picked Corey Schneider, not just because of my fanhood, but he's on a hot streak. I mean, the guy's really got it going on right now, and obviously he has to replace, in my opinion, the greatest goalie of all time in Martin Brodeur, so he's got to step it up.
Wait, so I tried to play Martin Brodeur today, and they said that he wasn't available, and I got confused.
You got to be smart. I mean, you got to know who's starting. You got to do your research.
See, that's a big part of fantasy hockey. Like I said, I know basketball. I know what to look for. Let's break off a little bit, Seth, before we get back to your goalie. What are you looking for? Like, are you looking for people playing? You're looking for them scoring, certainly? Because, I mean, from night to night, it's a lot different, right?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, you do want to have the starter in there. Obviously, it wouldn't be smart to be playing the backup for the night. But, yeah, what you're looking for is a guy that's on a hot streak. Goalies are historically, they're head cases. I mean, it's crazy. I played the game for a long time, and the best goalies are the craziest. They really are. So, I mean, the guy that is on a hot streak is the one you want to roll with. And like I said, Schneider, got a lot going on right now. He did sit out that outdoor game, and you saw what happened. I mean, they got 7 goals scored against them.
They got decimated.
Yeah, they got
by the Rangers.
We did talk about this a couple days ago about the outdoor game getting out of hand very quickly.
It was crazy. I mean, you had the Rangers go down quick 3-1, and then they score 6 unanswered goals. But for my goalie tonight, I have Thomas Greiss in Phoenix. I mean, you can't bet on the Sabres. You got to bet anybody playing against the Sabres.
You're going against matchup.
Not only are the Sabres the worst team in hockey, but they're also the worst team in hockey on the road. And they can't put the puck in the net. They have a lot of injuries. They traded away most of their good players, maybe with the exception of Tyler Ennis.
So I'm gonna try to level with you here. You're saying that the Buffalo Sabres are as to hockey as the Philadelphia 76ers are to basketball.
No, I'm saying the Buffalo Sabres are to hockey as the Buffalo Bills are to football.
Wow. You just said that for a rise. Buffalo, what? They have 6 wins this year?
I don't know.
Wins?
It's a bad year in Western New York for
Man,
sports.
you guys.
Sure.
In that regard, I think Nick and I agree that nights like this are nights that you're going to look at who's playing a team like that. It's much like in basketball when you're saying what are the matchups like, and you look at the Sabres and they're just terrible. So on that note, I have Oliver Ekman-Larsson in at defense. He was probably one of the more expensive defensemen on Star Fantasy Leagues. He's a defenseman for Phoenix, and he's a power play skater, a puck controller for their team.
Before we actually break down who you have at each position, let's go over the score. You already mentioned the scoring. Let's go over the lineups for this. It's a $100,000 salary, much like basketball. But unlike basketball, you got a lot more positions to fill. 2 left wing, 2 right wing, 2 centers, 2 defense, 1 goalie, and only 1 flex in this. We just want to make it sure that that's the lineup every day that you'll fill on StarFantasyLeague.com.
Yeah, and it makes it much more difficult to form a team because a lot of the stud players are priced at $12,000, $13,000, $14,000, $15,000, and sometimes above. So in that regard, you've got to look. You do the same thing. You build from the bottom up here, and I know that Oliver Ekman-Larsson is definitely expensive. But then you try to fit in value guys. And a value guy today that I think Nick will agree on is Dustin Brown.
Yeah,
and Dustin Brown's listed at 7,600. He's on the Kings. He's the captain. The Kings have had some trouble scoring this season, but they're playing the Penguins. And I think when you play a team like that, you have to sort of step up your game, especially when you're playing at home. And I think that maybe they can find the net this week.
I would say that's probably the biggest reason to go with him is because Pittsburgh's traveling all the way across the country to play them. I mean, we underestimate how that actually affects a pro athlete, but the fact is, Pittsburgh's the best team in the league right now, but they're traveling all the way across the country, or at least one of the best teams.
Same with Buffalo, and Buffalo is they're playing their 3rd game in 2 nights, and they're traveling all the way to Phoenix to play. Yep. So in that regard, I also have Michael Bedeker. How do you say his last name? I don't know how to say his last name.
Bedeker.
Yeah, you're asking somebody who doesn't know how to pronounce anything ever. We love trying to pronounce guys' names on this show. It's fun.
I mean, Bedeker, he's a power play skater on Phoenix too, and he's playing the worst team in hockey. You hope that maybe he'll find the net, have a good plus-minus, and get you some points there.
I mean, I rode Phoenix pretty hard tonight too. Just like you said, Buffalo, they're really not. They're not good. They're just going to give up a ton of goals. I threw Mike Ribeiro in there. He's definitely a playmaker. He's a guy that I think could definitely put up some points tonight. Again, going for value on that one. Put a lot of Phoenix players in the lineup. Buffalo's just not that good.
So literally, you're looking at the matchups where a guy. Are you looking at like backup goalies too? If teams are playing guys that aren't as good.
Sure, Thomas Greiss is a backup goalie, but he's getting the start tonight in Phoenix.
I know, but are you trying to go against some goalies that obviously you have the number 1 guy in net, and then you have the second guy that may not be as good. Do you go for the opposite team that's going against him? Is that
sure. I
think
you look at that. You look at the defense they're playing. You look at the matchups that they have in way of power play percentages, and who's at home, who's not at home. That all matters.
It looks like it does matter. We are talking daily fantasy hockey on StarFantasyLeagues.com. Tweet us at SFL Show if you like the hockey talk. We haven't really done a lot of hockey on the show, so it's nice to get some different perspective in here. We definitely appreciate your tweets. Learning a little bit about hockey for myself. It's interesting. So what else are you guys looking at tonight for some more players you got in your lineups?
Well, I'll tell you what, Anaheim, I said Pittsburgh's one of the best teams in the league. Anaheim is the best team in the league right now. So I definitely rolled hard with a couple of Anaheim defensemen because one of the things that you get points for on here is plus-minus. Defensemen are some of the greatest players to have in your lineup if you're looking for plus-minus. And I threw Ben Lovejoy in there and Brian Allen. I know they're not big names. I know you're not going to see a lot from them. But the fact is they're going to be on the ice. And, when you throw a player like Getzlaf in there, who I threw in as well, I mean, you're going to get a lot of points out of them. And it might not be in the fancy fashion, but it's definitely a good way to roll.
I took a chance on defense today, and I'm rolling with Jake Muzzin, who's a defenseman for the Kings. And I know they're playing a red-hot Pittsburgh, and that's a goal-scoring offense. But, I'm sort of banking on the fact that the Kings, I mean, your Stanley Cup champions from just a few years ago, will step up and play at the level of Pittsburgh. And I know that the coaching staff over in L.A. has been sort of leaning on this young guy to fill the shoes of their older defensemen. And I'm hoping that he's going to, step up, maybe get a couple shots, maybe not get too broken in the plus-minus department. But I also really like in that same game Jussi Jokinen, who's skating on the same line with Jason Neal and Evgeny Malkin. And he's a power play. He's on the power play line. He's been putting together some great numbers lately. And for just over 10,000 on Star Fantasy Leagues, I think he's priced fairly as a stud in the lineup.
All right, Nick, to wrap this segment up, who do you got for your best number one guy you had to have in your lineup tonight? Just the guy you think he's going to get the most points. That's not a goalie, obviously.
Ryan Getzlaf. I really think he's got it. I mean, that team is rolling right now. They are on fire. I think you saw that in the outdoor game that we had just last week. Ryan Getzlaf's the way to go. That guy's a leader. He knows how to get it done.
All right, Seth,
One more guy I think that's worth mentioning is Tyler Johnson, who's the center in Tampa Bay. And him and Marty St. Louis have been really tearing it up in the stats line. And, again, Tyler Johnson's another power play guy, and he's been just producing. He's got so many points in the last few games. He's definitely skyrocketed into a must-start in fantasy hockey. And on StarFantasyLeagues.com, he's priced well.
Wow, we just talked hockey for a full 10 minutes on this show. I think, Seth, I haven't seen your ears perk up like that ever.
I love hockey.
If you're watching the video version of this, you'll realize we have headsets on, so I actually can't see his ears perking up. So that made absolutely no sense.
Maybe it's the beer I'm drinking. I don't know.
Oh, wow. We're drinking on the air. That's a problem.
Yeah, I like
When we
that
come back,
shot,
we are going to
too.
talk fantasy basketball. We'll get away from this hockey. You're listening to the Star Fantasy League show on the Sports Byline USA Network.
The Star Fantasy League show is now part of the Nick Monsanto show. Information is key to being a successful fantasy team owner, and the guys have all the updated info you need right now. Let's do this. Time for your Star Fantasy League's NBA fantasy lineup breakdown.
Yeah. We are back on the Star Fantasy League show, and not hockey lineup breakdown, but we are talking NBA lineup breakdown. Finally, something that I am good at and I actually get to involve myself in. That's exciting, guys, right? I get to talk now.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
As opposed to Seth, who will sit this entire segment out and look at me like frustrated.
Before you get into this, I just want to mention that during the break, I asked my producer what his favorite animal was, and his response, or rather, what if he could be any animal in the world, what would he be? And he said, a panther.
Wow,
he wants to be a panther.
That's pretty
Producer
impressive.
Scott wants to be a panther.
That's interesting. All right, before we get back to things of great importance, Seth, thanks for that. What we're going to do today is both Nick and yourself made lineups on StarFantasyLeagues.com for Fantasy NBA, even though, Seth, you don't really know much about that basketball, but you said you'd start learning, you'd start researching. We had a 3-game set tonight. I want to hear both your lineups, and I'm going to critique you, and afterwards I'm going to tell you who I would have put in my lineup because I did make one as well. So, Nick, let's start off with you so we don't have to start off with the worst lineup.
You want me to read them down?
No, I want – actually, you know what? Yeah. But
All
tell
right.
me, like, who you went with, like, who was your big guy, and then we'll go through the whole lineup as well.
Okay. I'm going to preface this by saying I rolled pretty hard with Golden State.
Nothing wrong with that.
I figure tonight's going to be a pretty high-scoring matchup, and I threw a number of them in. I got Iguodala, D. Lee, Bogut, and Klay Thompson. I'm rolling all of those out.
You went with the entire, but I heard you didn't say Curry,
I did not say Curry.
That's I'm okay with that only because I think that Curry for the money is not the best play. Even for the top plays, I think he's about the 5th or 6th best guy. So if he's at the top salary, I'm not playing him tonight. I don't think he's a good play.
I agree. I really think his price tag's too high. The other thing is that the Clippers, they actually defend the point guard pretty well.
I mean, a lot of those stats are skewed because of CP3, but their last 15 games, they are the second best team on defense against the point guard. So Collison has been a decent replacement. So I completely agree with that. I was shying away from Steph Curry for sure. But somebody like an Iguodala, if you're looking to save money, I think there's places you can save money and be a little bit more efficient.
I agree. I'm taking a chance on Iguodala a little bit.
I do like Klay Thompson though. I have him.
Yeah, I also like Bogut. The first game that they played the Clippers was on the road. That was not as good. The second one was at home. He actually performed pretty well at home, and I think that down low, I'm not sure that there's another big man out there that's really worth the value that Bogut is.
Well, I don't think DeAndre can bang with him in the paint. Andrew Bogut's a different kind of player than DeAndre Jordan. I mean, DeAndre Jordan's long, sure, but Bogut's going to back him down and just put the ball in the hoop. That's what he does.
As long as he's healthy, I think Golden State has a really good lineup.
Thank you for saying as long as he's healthy, Bogut's going to play 8 minutes tonight. I'm absolutely certain that's going to happen. All right, who else do you got? I like your picks so far.
The number one is Carmelo Anthony.
Carmelo.
He's on fire. The guy's got it going on right now. Yeah, I know that 62 probably isn't going to happen every night, but he's still on fire. When a guy's on a hot streak, you got to roll with him. And I think that it doesn't really matter what the price tag is. And I really actually thought he was undervalued.
What is he at around 20,000?
He wasn't the highest price out there.
$20,289.
So you know what the funny thing is? I tried to make as balanced a lineup as possible, and I could not figure out a way to put Carmelo into my lineup without compromising the rest of my lineup.
Well, I have a lineup for you then.
No, I believe Nick is not done. Seth doesn't know the format.
I'm saying when he's done.
Seth doesn't know any of the formats of
I'm
any of the
chomping at the
shows.
bit. It's my first lineup in a while.
That's true. All right, Nick, let's
right.
finish out who you got.
Well, I also threw Tyson Chandler in there. I mean, there's not a ton of centers out there. There's only 3 games, like you said. I have Luis Scola in there. I know he might be coming off the bench, but he might throw in some points. He's not great for all the categories, but if he has a good night, it could be a good night. And he's playing the Suns.
That's true. Scola's, I mean, that game has blow-up potential. Out of all these games, I think that game could get out of hand the most because the Cavaliers, while bad, like to hang around. The Pacers are probably going to destroy the Suns at home. I feel like that has blow-up potential, and then you do have like a Granger or a Scola. But again, I mean, I do feel that for value, there's a little bit better than Scola out there and Granger and all those guys.
We'll see. Last one I threw in there, though, and you want to hear me butcher a name.
Yes.
Prigioni?
Pablo Prigioni.
Pablo
Right,
Prigioni. At least it's
all
not –
right.
hold on, we have to say it every show. Giannis Antetokounmpo.
That's a real Panther there.
No, he's actually a Buck, not a Panther, Seth.
Oh, whatever.
Seth didn't know Zach Randolph didn't play point guard for the Memphis Grizzlies.
I don't know anything
Nice.
about basketball, John.
Zebo, really? Come
he
on.
has no idea what's going on. It's okay. Seth is here just for the sake of being here. It's okay. Was that your entire lineup?
That's the lineup I rolled out
You didn't do
tonight.
the worst job in the world because
Why, thank you.
because Seth's here.
Okay, Seth's here. All right, well, okay.
Seth, go ahead and tell me.
Take the pressure off me, man. Let's go.
Seth, before we get into your lineup, we are here on the Star Fantasy League show talking daily fantasy basketball. StarFantasyLeagues.com. Tweet us at SFL Show if you prefer basketball over hockey, which we were talking earlier. Even if you don't, let us know. Tell us what you like about the show. We
Tell
appreciate
John
it.
how much of an idiot he is because my lineup is going to show him up tonight.
He actually asked me before the broadcast. He said, "Is Anderson Varejao playing?" And I didn't know if he thought that he was like out or injured.
No, that was a
didn't-
legitimate question. Anderson Varejao, I was looking today. He traveled with the team, and he was a game-time decision. But if he wasn't going to play, you have to put in Tyler Zeller,
I
which is
agree.
exactly what I did.
You agree, Nick, but you didn't have him in your lineup.
I didn't. You know, I was really throwing that one around, but then I got to fit some other players in, and I liked what I saw.
For value, I mean, Zeller is 4,700, is close to the minimum.
He's the player. He's the player.
He
of the
had
day.
a double-double last the
I
other
agree
night.
with you. He had 13 and 10. He had, I believe, 27 fantasy points in the first half.
It was fantastic.
Zach and I were high-fiving each other in the studio watching that.
So we've talked about Klay Thompson. I have Klay Thompson in my lineup.
Yep.
I also have Carmelo Anthony in my lineup. But the rest of my lineup, I also have Andre Iguodala in my lineup.
Okay.
But the rest of my lineup is different. I have Steph Curry on Golden State.
Oh, so you actually went – okay,
I spent the
I want to
money.
hear your reasoning behind Steph Curry because Nick and I are both agree. I mean, I feel like he's A, overvalued.
He's a stud.
Okay, he's A, overvalued, and B, his matchup is probably one of the worst by-position matchup of the night.
When have you seen him have a bad game lately?
Okay, even if it doesn't, the whole good game, bad game thing, if he's valued at around, what, 21,000, I believe, 20-ish, something like that?
Yeah.
If
20
he's that high,
20,400.
let's say he puts up a 35-point performance, that's actually severely undervalued for his price. Like Carmelo putting up 45 is great.
Maybe you're right.
That's what I'm saying. I think his upside tonight is not as high as it could possibly be against another team. That's the only thing I'm saying here.
Sure,
Steph
I don't
Curry-
disagree with you, but I wanted to fit him in there. I'm a fan of his and his
okay.
shoes.
He's
got great shoes.
I'll say these are things you're going to start to learn in basketball.
Well, I hope he does because he's got bad ankles. I'm sorry I had to say it.
Oh no, you were trying to jinx people left and right here, Nick. This is not.
I mean, hey, a winner wants to win, right?
If somebody gets injured on your watch, you're being kicked out of the studio immediately.
Oh, man.
It's happening. You're done.
So I've got Steph Curry in the lineup. I also put in Danny Granger for the reasons that you said. It has blowout potential. He can come off the bench and really hit his value. He's priced at just below 7,000. There aren't too many people who are going to come in at that price point and actually potentially contribute. He went 3 of 10 the other night. He put up some points. It's not that great, but you know what? He has the potential to hit value tonight in this game, and I was not upset making that play tonight.
Okay. I usually when I get the value, I'm looking at something from an injury standpoint. There's a couple guys I want to talk from an injury standpoint that I preferred to put in over a guy like Danny Granger, but again, at the price, not the worst play, but there are a couple ones that I would prefer. But we'll get to that once your lineup's
Yeah,
set.
I couldn't find anybody at that price point that I like better than Danny Granger, so I'm interested in hearing what you have to say.
Okay.
But I also stuck in Roy Hibbert tonight. I think of all the big men, he was at his price point of $13,235 on StarFantasyLeagues.com. For me, he was a must-play. He's a defensive nightmare in a good way.
Not to mention, Phoenix has a slew of big men who aren't really big men. They have Channing Frye down low. They have Plumlee down low. They have Markieff Morris down low, none of which can guard Roy Hibbert even close.
Yeah, I thought he was going to have a good game tonight for sure.
You know what? The only thing I have to say to that, though, is that did they roll with a small lineup in that case? I mean, you might not see him play as many minutes as you want, and I think the other thing is that he relies a lot on blocks. He really does. Blocks
you
are
get a lot
huge
of
part
points
of
for
it.
blocks on
No, but
StarFantasyLeagues.com.
what he's saying is he's not going to have a chance to get a lot of
I just don't
blocks.
think the opportunities are going to be there.
Yeah, the big men on Phoenix don't like to go in the paint. They like Channing Frye likes to hang out there. Markieff Morris shoots jumpers, so you don't get a lot of chance to block the shot if it's not around the paint.
See, this is educational for me, right? This is exactly why I want to make the lineup in the first place, because you do this and you learn.
Well, you thought we were going to come in here and just like slaughter you, but I mean, it is educational. That's why we want to have fans tweet us their lineups at SFL Show. Tell us who you're starting, or ask us, well, who should I start, this guy or this guy? We'll be more than happy to tell you exactly who you should start. That's why we're here.
I know you busted my chops a little bit for this last one, but I picked J.R. Smith in my lineup tonight.
Okay, I busted your chops before I saw that Mr. Iman Shumpert wasn't playing. To be fair, you also didn't know that Iman Shumpert wasn't playing.
That is so not true. You could throw me under the bus like that.
I am going to throw you under the bus because you actually said that to me, and I was like, oh, that makes sense. You got very lucky. But as soon as I saw that, I seriously considered J.R. Smith in my lineup, but then I realized it's still J.R. Smith, and I went a completely different way.
I love watching J.R. Smith. I think he's one of the more entertaining players in basketball.
Okay,
I don't watch too much of it.
I was say, do you get points for entertainment on StarFantasyLeagues.com?
No, but you know what? Part of playing fantasy sports sometimes is also the entertainment value. You weigh the entertainment value versus the expected value.
I like picking players I like over. If you're having fun and playing like a free roll, pick players you like. Sure, we don't care. Do whatever you want.
I'm in this because I made this lineup tonight and I picked players that I like, that I think I like watching. Steph Curry, I love to watch.
All right, let's quickly. Your lineup isn't the worst. I'm not for your first go of it on the Star Fantasy League show. I'm not too mad. Let's go over mine real quick. Darren Collison at point guard was one of my plays of the night. He's right under $9,000, going up against Steph Curry, who can't guard anything. Collison's been very solid, several 25 to 30 point games in the past couple weeks. Kyrie Irving, another guy, has a great matchup. The Knicks can't guard basically anything, and Kyrie's kind of basically shouldering the load. Varejão's out. I feel like he's a good play at around 15,000. Paul George, sure that game might be a blowout, but if it's a blowout, it's because of Paul George. He has a great matchup. Phoenix can't guard the position whatsoever. I feel like he could have a 40, 45-point night at 17,000. I also got Blake Griffin in there. Tyler's out, like we said. Bogut's a great play. One of my big sleepers, though, is Tim Hardaway Jr. Like we said, Iman Shumpert's out. This is a guy, $5,500 on StarFantasyLeagues.com. You had to get him in your lineup because no Shumpert. J.R. Smith is bound to do something stupid, and Tim Hardaway has been very solid when he gets the minutes. The last guy I had, like I said, Klay Thompson. I love him tonight. Love it. We're coming back. We're talking fantasy accountability for NFL after the break. You're listening to the Star Fantasy League show on the Sports Byline USA Network.
Play fantasy sports for cash prizes. Join the top daily and weekly fantasy leagues in the country at starfantasyleagues.com. Now, back to the Star Fantasy League show with Jonathan, Zach, and Seth.
Yep.
Voiceover guy, you could not be more wrong. We are back on the Star Fantasy League show with Jonathan, Seth, and Nick. No Zach today. He decided just not to show up. He got really upset. What happened,
Zach?
guys?
What's going on?
Hey, his loss.
And I can guarantee he's not listening to this on the radio, or else we'd have more than one listener. Yeah. All right, we got that in there for the fourth time. All right, on this segment, we are talking football preseason accountability for fantasy. What this segment is most times you hear experts. They make their great sleeper picks. They make their boom or bust picks before the season starts. And if they got it wrong, you never hear from them again. You never hear what they got right or what they got wrong. So what we're doing on Star Fantasy League is we picked, before the season, every single team. We picked a can't miss, can't wait to drop, and a no one saw him coming. Today we're going over the NFC West only because our Super Bowl champions are going to come from this division, and we're going to talk about them. Seattle Seahawks. They're going to come last, though, don't worry. The team we're going to start with is a team that I picked to win the Super Bowl on this show. We did it like 2-3 weeks before the season started. I picked the San Francisco 49ers to win the Super Bowl. Seth, you laughed at me.
I did.
You actually said they were going to win like 9 or 10 games. You said they had absolutely no chance. Would you like to recant?
Well, I mean, obviously, given
Okay.
results, of course I'm going to recant.
But you said they were going to be much worse than they were last year.
I just didn't see it. You know, I'm a big fan of Colin Kaepernick. I have been since he was at UNLV.
He was your can't miss before the season.
Yeah, but you know, Frank Gore, and I've said this ad nauseum at this
great.
point.
Here it comes.
When you refer to a running back as somebody that still still has some youth left, that's not good. And who is he throwing to? He's throwing to Vernon Davis. Great. Vernon Davis came on at the end of the season, did great. Who did he have in the beginning of the season? Nobody. Nothing at wide receiver. Anquan Bolden, that's it. You cover Anquan Bolden, you take away everything from Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
you
had
should tell that to the Packers.
He had 2 big weeks, and that was pretty much it. Anquan Bolden was like, hey, I'm here. Oh, see you later. Bye.
Yeah, I mean, he had Crabtree at the end of the season.
Yep. And then they got Manningham back. He did pretty much nothing when he was healthy.
Yeah.
That's kind of
So
bad.
how can you blame me for saying I just didn't see it?
I mean, I feel like the team, the just what was instilled in those players with Harbaugh as coach, I felt like they weren't gonna let him down. That was just he just rallies his troops, and they rally with a team that had basically nobody healthy.
I mean, they didn't lose anything on defense. Their defense was still one of the best in the league.
And I guess
Not
they
until
do say,
now. I mean, Navarro Bowman's, that's a question mark for next season, but they have 2 all-pro linebackers. They have a great defensive line. I don't know. I mean, as much as I hate to say it, I saw the 49ers going a pretty good distance this year, too.
Yep, I was one touchdown away from them being back in the Super Bowl and possibly winning this. So
True.
Seth did pick before the season. He did pick the Denver Broncos. So your pick is still live by
7-1.
preseason. Yeah, that's not too bad. Well, I think they were 6 or 7-1, but so is Seattle and San Francisco, to be fair. Nick, who'd you have before the season for your can't miss for the San Francisco 49ers?
Can't miss for the San Francisco. I would have to say Vernon Davis. I mean, the guy
Really?
he's an athletic freak. And I mean, here's my knock on Colin Kaepernick, and I'm sure we can get into this a little bit more in a minute, but he locks into a receiver. The guy really, when he wants to throw to somebody, that's who he throws to. So, Vernon Davis, the guy is one of the fastest tight ends in the league.
But he throws it to them at like 75 miles an hour.
Doesn't
Nobody else
matter.
is
The
gonna
guy
get
can
it.
chase the ball down. I mean, it was even, I can't remember I think it was Patrick Willis in the preseason even said, some of the stuff that Vernon Davis and Colin Kaepernick were doing was just not fair. It just wasn't fair. And, I mean, I don't know. I just saw Vernon Davis as a can't miss. I don't know. Colin Kaepernick, on the other hand, that's a different story.
I know John couldn't wait to drop Vernon Davis in the beginning of the season, and I couldn't wait to drop Frank Gore.
See, my problem with Vernon Davis, he's being drafted way too high. In our league, Seth and I were in a 2-quarterback league together. He was going as like the 3rd best tight end. I felt like there was so much value after the drop-off that getting him that high was just a complete waste. We were high on Jordan Cameron. We were high on Martellus Bennett. So I felt like drafting someone like that so high, it's a waste of a pick. Unless you get Jimmy Graham, then that's it. I would get Jimmy Graham high. The rest of them just no, and then get your value at the end for tight end. And that was pretty much it. But why are you so down on Frank Gore? I don't understand you.
I just don't think he's. I just don't think he's a great running back. I mean, I just don't. I mean, that's all there is
That's
to
what you
it.
sound like. I have nothing but I don't like him. What about you, Nick? Who was your can't wait to drop for the team? Or did you already say it? I'm lost.
No.
I think Frank Gore is just a downhill runner. He doesn't really have any burst on the edges. He doesn't really have any lateral movement that I can see. I mean, he's just not in the same class as somebody like LaShawn McCoy or Adrian Peterson. He's just not. You can replace him. He's replaceable.
He's not being drafted like those guys.
But
I agree.
My point is, he is very replaceable.
I don't know. As a second running back, I kind of might have taken a chance on Frank Gore. As far as I can't wait to drop, though, saw a lot of people drafting Mario Manningham. I didn't really see why that was going on. I didn't see that. My can't wait to drop, though, I had to go with Anquan Boldin. I'm sorry. I know the guy did really great in the first week. Everybody was getting on my back about it, but watch him throughout the season. Anquan Boldin did not show up in the way that you thought he should have.
Yeah. Aside from the couple games, he was pretty much it.
Boom or bust.
Yeah, he is the definition of boom or bust. That's for sure. No one saw him coming. I said John Baldwin. Move on.
Yeah, let's just move on. I mean, there were a bunch of people we could have said from no one saw him coming, but nobody really stood out
to even mention
49ers besides their defense. Their defense was
great
great
and all the injuries going into the season, like we couldn't mention anybody because they were all injured. You couldn't say, "Oh, Crabtree's going to be great." Guess what? Injured. Didn't matter.
No, I really don't want to talk about what we have coming next year.
We're gonna. Don't you dare push past the St. Louis Rams, Seth. I know why you're gonna do this. The first thing he said is before we even got the St. Louis Rams name out, he goes, "My can't miss 100% is Daryl Richardson." He was so high on him. He's like, I love him. He's going to be the best. I have him starting in every league that's ever existed.
I did.
You've never been more wrong in your entire life.
I had him in the beginning of the season on most of my teams. I really liked what I saw in the preseason. I really liked what I heard coming out of the Rams camp from everybody around him. And he's got dreadlocks. Come on.
That's a reason you should pick him. He's got dreadlocks, guys.
I really liked him. Clearly, I couldn't have been more wrong.
Actually, you could have been more wrong. I picked Chris Givens. He did absolutely nothing.
Well, most of the receivers on that team didn't do much.
I mean, I was okay for for no one saw him coming. I was kind of in on Sam Bradford. I was in on, but I also liked Austin Pettis. He had a couple decent games. He was the only receiver that really got some traction, but. Yeah, like you said, the receivers for St. Louis were just atrocious, especially when Sam Bradford went down. They all just went way downhill.
Yep.
But I would like to give some props to Zach on our show, not Zach Stacy. He did call Zach Stacy. He said, I don't think Richardson's a guy. I don't think Pede's a guy. He said, watch out for Zach Stacy if he gets a chance. And when he did, he was monster.
I would love to know where that came from. I really would.
What,
Zach probably because they have the same
Zach
name.
Stacy.
He didn't.
Really?
He didn't actually say it, but
you called that? Get out of here.
He did.
He called it.
It's a recording. There is an audio
version.
of this.
I went with Jared Cook, and that's because I really liked Sam Bradford throwing to him, and Cookie did really well in Tennessee. He was putting together a good season at the end of the season last year. It's a shame that Sam Bradford went down, I have to say. Because Jared Cook was putting together some decent numbers early.
I would like to say that you also don't know the format of the show because you decided that your can't wait to drop for St. Louis was Austin Pettis, who wasn't getting drafted. So I don't really know how he could be droppable.
Well, sure.
Yeah, there you go. I just wanted to throw in that jab before we moved on because let's be honest, you like to take the jabs. That's kind of why you're on the show, right?
Oh, come on, John. Why are you so mean to me?
Because Zach's not here to do mean things to you.
I was enjoying myself. Zach's not here, giving me sideways glances and calling me an idiot.
Is this where I'm supposed to step in?
Don't even do it.
You know what? I'm going to step in here though. We are talking fantasy preseason accountability for football here on the Star Fantasy League show. Tweet us at SFL Show if you think Seth's pick of Daryl Richardson was one of the funniest things ever.
Don't you dare tweet us. Get off your computer. Turn off your radio.
Turn off your Twitter, guys. At SFL Show. Don't
deactivate
tweet us.
your account.
All right, let's quickly move on to Arizona, and then we got Seattle to talk about. I want to have the most time for them. Arizona can't miss. I love Larry Fitzgerald, and so did Zach. Seth, you decided not to say anything because I think you slipped into a coma at some point.
Yeah, who knows?
Do you have anybody for can't miss?
Yeah, I probably would have picked Larry Fitzgerald as well. He's the only person on that offense that's worth anything.
Same for you, Nick?
Larry Fitzgerald.
Okay. He didn't have the crazy year we all expected. Carson Palmer had the year that we kind of were looking for.
Big step up there.
I think Carson Palmer is sneaky solid. I really do. I believe I picked him as the no one saw him coming. Oh, no, sorry.
Well, he's always fantasy relevant because he throws the ball so much.
Lot. Yeah, even in Oakland, he was chucking that ball. Yeah. Well, they had nobody healthy at running back. What do you expect?
They had nobody healthy at receiver either.
That's also true. Can't wait to drop. I think we all agreed on Mendenhall. Either Mendenhall or any running back that was on that team.
Yeah, that was unanimous. Although Andre Ellington, he came out of nowhere.
But then he played, 12 snaps a game?
But
and
his yards per carry were, and he was getting the average the average yardage he was getting on each touch was the same as Arian Foster and Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, except they came out and said he's not a big enough guy to get like 30 snaps a game. Why
ridiculous.
would you come out and say that?
That's just ridiculous.
Look at Danny Woodhead.
I mean, I think that Arizona mismanaged that entire situation right there.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. I think Andre Ellington's definitely somebody to look out for next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, you actually think he's going to get some touches? Well, Mendenhall's terrible, so somebody's got to get him from there. Let's move on to No One Saw Him Coming. I think this is where the Rob Hussler thing was like born, because Zach just loves saying Rob Hussler on the air. That was his thing. I think that's literally why he picked him. He's like, I just want to keep saying that. Actually, we technically agreed on Michael Floyd. I love Michael Floyd. He actually had a big year for them.
Yeah,
Carson Palmer made him a fantasy stud for 2-3 weeks in a row.
Although I don't know how you couldn't see that one coming. I mean, the guy had some potential. He's a number 2 receiver in their system, and the fact is, the guy showed some great flashes in college, and there's no reason to believe that he couldn't transition into the NFL.
I compared him to Steve Breston the year before when he was a third guy, and Seth's like, no.
Isn't Steve Breston on the Rams now?
No, I'm saying, but the year before, Breston was the third guy in Arizona.
I remember that.
Floyd was the second guy this year. I'm saying they would have similar outputs.
I'm just
And
saying,
turns
where
out
did he go?
I don't know. He probably disappeared. He wasn't very good.
No,
he was
wasn't
solid,
He
but
went
he wasn't
somewhere.
great.
He was on the practice squad somewhere.
All right, you know what? Arizona's boring the crap out of me. Right? Let's quickly move on to the Super Bowl champions, Seattle Seahawks. I'm calling it right now.
Whoa.
Super Bowl champions. Yeah,
Really?
I'm saying it. Sorry, it's happening.
You think they're going to beat the Broncos? That's
No.
I want to cheer for them
them
because I feel like everyone is cheering for Denver. I want to cheer for Seattle.
No, they should be.
Yeah, I want to. All right, let's go quickly. Can't miss for the Seattle Seahawks. Yeah. Seth, who you got?
Marshawn Lynch, clearly.
Yeah, that's pretty easy, right?
Yeah, that one's easy.
I loved Russell Wilson. I said Lynch, but I'm on Russell Wilson, man. The kid's got swag. He's just really.
What does he have?
He's got swag.
Swag?
Have you seen him play? He's so cool in the pocket. He gets out of tackles like nobody else. He's a pretty damn good
My other
quarterback.
can't miss was Richard Sherman.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, quarterbacks can't miss him. They just throw it right to him. That's pretty much it.
Can I throw one thing at you?
Of course you can.
Okay. I know Zach's not listening tonight, so this is going to be good. But Russell Wilson was, in my opinion, his can't wait to drop. He and I talked about this before the season, and sophomore slumps, I think we've all heard that one before. Russell Wilson was our top candidate for a sophomore slump there.
Wow.
So,
Zach
I
said
don't
Sidney
know.
Rice is a cop-out because Sidney Rice, come on, he's injured. Nobody cares about him.
Oh, God.
I'm pretty sure we all agreed on Sidney Rice, but we didn't. It was more of an unspoken thing.
Well, I was thinking about Golden Tate a little bit also, and he had the best season out of any Seahawks receiver, but it still wasn't that great.
Yeah, I had him as a no one saw him coming because nobody was taking him, honestly. He was kind of slipping down to the later rounds. I felt like he's worth a gamble. It turns out he didn't have a terrible season. Were you starting him maybe a couple weeks when everyone was injured? But, yeah, they had some not-so-healthy stuff going on there. No one saw him coming, guys, quickly
I
before
really
we wrap
thought
this up.
Christian Michael might have stepped in. I thought he might have actually produced something.
Don't call him Christian. It's spelled Christine.
Christine.
His parents must
Christine.
hate him. That's what I said on the show. I'm saying it again. I think his parents literally hated him.
Like Philip Rivers, who named their kid P. Rivers. Or my uncle, Philip Neese, whose initials spell P. Neese.
Oh, my Lord.
Can I say that on the radio? Yeah, that's his name, right?
Can you say it on the radio? You already did, so it really doesn't matter. All right, we're getting away from fantasy accountability for the last minute. Tell me why the Seattle Seahawks are not winning the Super Bowl on Sunday.
The Denver Broncos have the best offense that I have seen in the NFL and in almost as long as I have watched this game as an adult. I cannot see Peyton Manning not coming through. And they put this team together for Peyton Manning to go to the Super Bowl, to win the Super Bowl. This is Peyton Manning in the postseason in orange, which is weird for some people, but he has all the weapons around him to succeed and win. I'm really looking forward to watching this game.
You know, there's been comparisons to that team that he had with Harrison, Wayne, Clark, all those guys, Edgar and James. No, I think this team's better. I think it's the best NFL offense that we've ever seen.
I agree.
Ever.
I couldn't agree more.
The best NFL offense. Every year they're like, this
Are you
is
kidding?
the best this.
You
this
tell
is
me
the
who's
best
better.
It's the best
that.
we've ever seen. Statistically,
We're going to wrap this show up by saying the Seattle Seahawks, congratulations, you won this year's Super Bowl. And you're listening to the Star Fantasy League show on the Sports Byline USA Network.
You're listening to the Star Fantasy League show on the Nick Monsanto Show here on the Sports Byline USA Network. Contact the StarFantasyLeagues.com guys via Twitter at SFL Show.
You're up.
That's right, voiceover guy. You can contact us via Twitter at SFL Show. Seth told everyone to turn off their Twitters earlier, turn off their computers. Do not turn off your computers. Don't turn off your radios. Seth may ask you to do that.
Are we done? Is this the end of the show?
This will wrap up yet another episode.
So turn off your radio.
This is the worst recurring thing that I've ever heard.
Just turn it off.
Why?
Why not?
I understand that
We'll turn it back on after you turn it off.
Just
turn it on and turn it off a couple times.
Oh, see, you haven't been telling people that for the past week. They just turn it off. They don't know what to do. That's a problem. But let's go ahead and say this will wrap up the Star Fantasy League show. But special thanks to Nick for joining us on the show. You feel like you just jumped in and had a good contribution?
Yeah, I had a great time. Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
We actually forced him into coming. He's currently chained to the chair. You can't really see it, but yeah, he's not allowed to leave this office.
It's okay. I'm into that kind of thing.
Wow.
Speaking of into that kind of thing, John Kitna, if you're listening, I know you're all the way up in Washington, but we'd love to have you on the show.
I don't think he would ever want to come here knowing that we talk about him every show. That's a problem.
And I have some things I'd like you to sign. So if you could just send me your address, that would be great.
That's lovely. All right, quick, Seth, before we get off the air tonight, tell us what do we have going on StarFantasyLeagues.com? I know we got a bunch of offers. Quickly, list them off. Give free value to our listeners.
If you tweet us at SFL Show, we will give you a $5 credit in your account that you can play fantasy sports for real money at StarFantasyLeagues.com.
$5 free in your account just for sending a tweet?
That's right. As long as you're eligible to play on our site, we will do that. We have a deposit bonus for people who are interested in signing up. We will match your deposit with bonus cash that you can unlock while you play at Star Fantasy League.
That's not too bad.
Tomorrow, Friday, we have $2,000 guaranteed in NBA tournaments. So come on and get in on the action and win your share of that money.
And do not forget, on top of all that, we do offer free rolls. If you just want to play for free and learn daily fantasy sports, go to StarFantasyLeagues.com. $10 NBA free roll. Tuesday and Thursdays is a $50 NBA free roll. It doesn't get any better than that, guys. And as always, if you think Daryl Richardson is the sleeper of the year, you need a lot more help than you think.
Oh, come on.
Have a good night.
Kidman.